Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? I hope you are well. Happy Friday when I record this. Hopefully, I get it out on Friday. My phone just beeped, so let me make sure my audio settings did not change. They didn't. Yay. Yeah, so we've been covering all of the family stuff. So I decided, I know you guys have been watching because I've seen some of you guys in the chats, the various creators who are covering the sidebars, the appeal, transcript, some of the off the record stuff, some of the voir dire with the jurors. So I was like, let's see what they said about Brian, because I wanted to, kind of keep it in the theme of what we've been going over with the family court and a lot of that in the text messages. But you guys, I know a lot of you guys have been hard on Lana and hard on Christina about falling for Sarah's shenanigans and jumping on her side against Brian. But guess what? Owens did it too. Yes, bashing Brian Boone in the sidebars. I like the alliteration there. Yeah, he just jumped on the bandwagon against Brian, took Sarah at her word, even, I don't want to say lied, because I know some of y'all take objection to that. Fair enough. He told an untruth, or maybe he thought it was a truth and wasn't certain to Judge Kranick, but we're going to get into it. First, we're going to do the intro to thank the members. And I like to thank the members, but also I'm thanking you for being here. The members are near and dear to my heart. Before I was like video monetized, I was monetized for members, and a lot of them have been with me for not quite a year yet. My channel will be a year old next month in June, but I believe I became eligible for memberships either late July, early August, and then I became eligible for monetization. So they hold a spot near and dear to my heart, but don't feel any type of way. You being here watching, I greatly appreciate you as well. So I'll see you on the other side of this intro. Sorry if that was a little loud. I turned it down a little ways through. So just as context, Owens wanted to drag Brian through the coals or hold his feet to the fire or whatever euphemism you want to use, because originally the defense was going to call Brian as a witness, right? And then I think Owens became aware of the digital evidence of the recordings of Brian saying, she was a drunk and had someone coming in the house early in the morning, and so then he thought he would treat him as a hostile witness and show bias. And one of the tools he thought he would use to show bias was that he had stopped paying Sarah alimony. Judge Kranick, wise Zeddy Kranick, had formerly been a family law judge. I think he said for 4 years. It'll come up in here, and asked some poignant questions, which Owens told some untruths, but Kranick was on to him. So let's just see, what light they cast poor old Brian Boone in during the trial. So moving to 22, family law case file, Boone v. Boone, case number 2017 DR 0166 or 016600. I understand the state's objection as to relevance and hearsay. Response, Mr. Owens, Judge Brian Boone, we anticipate, is going to testify for the state, may testify for the defense, and he may be considered an adverse witness or hostile witness, and so we may attempt to establish either bias or on his part based on some of the documents or orders in the court record, or we may reflect for impeachment purposes the fact that he has not complied with some of the orders, and that the reason being is because of his feelings for the defendant. He's now got full custody of their son and has had full custody for 4.5 years. That was not the agreement they originally had. And he was ordered to pay alimony, which he has failed to do as a result of her being incarcerated. So there's litigation going on. Brian Boone has counsel. Sarah Boone does not in that divorce, but the court what does Mr. Owens, depending on what he says, the court, what does the non-payment of alimony have to do with what's happening in a family case? Which I wonder if he means criminal case, but we'll just go with family case. Mr. Owens, well, Judge, that goes to his testimony. That goes to his credibility, whether or not he can be impeached. That her, in the position that she's in now, he's biased. And to show that he's biased, that he has not paid alimony for, he was supposed to pay $1,000 a month for a number of years, that he's just failed to comply with the court's order, that shows his personal bias or feelings towards Sarah Boone. I don't know if that shows bias. I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like he's leaping. It could show he's broke. It could show he's contemptuous of court orders, but of course in Sarah's mind, it's all about her. And so Owens, as her representative, is making it all about her in this argument. The court response, Mr. J. It sounds like this is ongoing pending litigation that has not been decided by a circuit court judge of the Ninth Circuit sitting in the family division. And I can certainly understand why one may believe they don't need to pay alimony when their spouse is incarcerated. I can certainly understand why somebody may believe they don't need to pay child support when their spouse is incarcerated, and they would probably want to seek legal redress about those issues. And it sounds like it's all ongoing. The court. Are there any orders from the court in that case addressing the non-payment of alimony and that being contemptuous or in violation of any court order? Mr. Owens. No, they were divorced. I think there was a marital settlement agreement that was attached to the final order. Brian Boone did open the case back up to move the child to another place. I'm not going to put it here. I know you guys sometimes ask. I know it's out there. Great. If it's out there, you know what it is. I don't need to repeat it, which has happened. And then my understanding is there's still some issues. I think she was given some kind of a notice of a hearing coming up that she's not represented. I don't represent her. Now, I circled this because this is relevant in the family case, right? He doesn't represent her. He's never represented her in that case. Yet she went to the family court judge, who is now Miss Jackson. At the time, it was, Michael, I can't remember his last name. I know he has the same first name as Koenig. But whatever, Michael Dean was the judge at the time of this hearing. But he doesn't represent her. So it was silly that Sarah wrote to Judge Jackson to compel action because she had no jurisdiction over Owens. It'd just be like me writing a random judge saying, tell you to do something, tell you to comply. It'd be like, on what authority? It's not how that works. The court. Is there, so if there's no order in the court file finding there's a violation of an order to pay alimony, what is? And there is no order and there cannot be an order because the motion that he filed has to be settled first before he can be held in contempt. So he's perfectly fine to not pay anything until that is settled. Judge Koenig knows that. Owens may not, in earnest, he may not because he's not a family court judge. He is a defense attorney. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But there's a part where I feel like he should have just said, I'm not sure, Judge. Let me check. Where he was like, no, that doesn't. But we'll get there. Mr. Owens. Well, there's a final order about his obligation to pay alimony. And I think if he gets on the stand, I'm going to ask him, but you haven't paid her alimony like you were ordered to do so. I can go into it on cross-examination, the court. But it sounds like there's pending litigation, including a relocation and I don't know because that's not my case and I haven't looked at it, Mr. Owens. That's been decided. He was able to relocate. I don't know all the ramifications. I'll look at the clerk file. I think we had subpoenaed the custodian of the records of the clerk file. I'll look at it and I'll let the court know and the state know. Now, why subpoena it when you could just enter that into evidence when Brian testifies? I guess you can't do it on cross because you have to cover what they covered on direct. But if you call him up, you could enter it. So that's why he wants to enter it during the state's case in chief. The court. Can you all approach just for a moment at the bench? The court. I was on the family bench for 4.5 years. Here's my concern. I don't know the status of this litigation, but if there's a pending supplemental petition and he's arguing a substantial change in circumstances regarding alimony, there's not a requirement for him to pay it. It's not contemptuous, right? And therefore cannot be held against him, cannot be used to show bias. He's followed the proper legal form. Mr. Owens. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I don't believe that's the case. The court. There's not a pending supplemental petition. How did he move to where he moved? The only way he can do that is with the supplemental petition, Mr. Owens. The supplemental petition didn't have anything to do with alimony. It just had him. He wanted to move the child to where he moved him. And I know the judge granted that order because he's living there. So he got permission from the court. But I don't believe there was any pleading filed about. So he's writing the line. He's saying, I don't believe. He's not saying definitively. So he's a lawyer. He knows the legalese about staying his alimony payments while she was in jail. It's automatically stayed when he files that pleading. But I'll look at the file. The court. I need clarification on that because I'm worried there's other legal issues in the family law realm that are going to be at play for the non-payment of his alimony. Mr. Owens, I think I would proffer that to the court if I was going to attempt to impeach him. Said the court. Mr. Owens, on a topic related to his family law matter, Sarah's family law matter, I would proffer that testimony outside the presence of the jury for the court to make a ruling. The court. Okay. Mr. Owens, I don't know at this stage what he's going to say, but I think it is fair game on cross-examination to share his bias against Sarah Boone. He doesn't want Sarah Boone to have any contact with their son. He says derogatory things to the son about Sarah Boone, and those are all fair game because he's fighting for full custody of the child or wants full custody. Well, the mama is incarcerated. Why wouldn't he want full custody? And she recorded a snuff film murdering her boyfriend, so it's a damn near certainty she's going to be incarcerated for a while. Especially since she turned down the plea and we are standing in front of a judge with the jury having a sidebar. He never wants Sarah. He wants Sarah to spend the rest of her life in prison. This is Brian Boone. I think he's going to admit this on the stand, that he wants Sarah Boone to spend the rest of her life in prison, and he wants the son to have no contact with his natural mother. The court. Any response, Mr. J? Mr. J, I reviewed the family court file and I don't see anything contemptuous about what he is doing based on those court records. Not based on my understanding of family law, which was taking a class in 1995. Me too, Mr. J. Well, not a class, but my understanding, I just followed what it said and said he didn't have to pay. I do not put some caution. I do want to put some caution into their sales. I believe it's going to be completely fair game for him to say, I'm choosing to take these actions because she's incarcerated. We've taken great steps to avoid them knowing that, besides the fact that she never comes in and out for jury selection. So the jury doesn't know she's incarcerated, and he's saying they are soliciting, they are opening this door if they go into why he stopped paying alimony. He can say he applied for this modification because she's incarcerated, and then they know. Although Sarah said it herself because she's not that bright when he asked about her weight. If you guys remember when Owen said you were smaller then, and she said, before I was incarcerated. So that cat went out of the bag. So I think it's going to be fair game for him to say, yeah, I'm not paying child support because she's in jail. Yeah, I'm not paying alimony because she's in jail. He would look like a damn fool paying her child support when he is supporting the child 100%, in my opinion, my 2 cents. And it's either been settled based on the court file in the family court case or it's still pending. I think that's fair. And then also there's going to be prior consistent statements that he made to rebut this recent motivation for fabrication. So we'll be prepared to introduce those prior consistent statements as well. So he said things contemporaneously. So their whole, oh, he's biased, he wants her gone forever, is sort of blown apart, right? Because before he knew she was going to be incarcerated, he came forward and said she ain't a good mama. Mr. Owens, judge, and I realize I may open the door about that type of testimony. The court, have you had a conversation with your client about the ramifications of that? Of the jury knowing that she's in custody? Yes. No, but I will, judge. I wonder if he did, because if he did, then she's even dumber for mentioning that she gained weight because she was incarcerated. But she did it. I mean, it's Sarah. She will cut off her nose to spite her face. No, but I will, judge. And like I said, I don't anticipate Brian Boone testifying until first of next week. Wrong, Mr. J. And also, Mr. Owens, Tony Henderson and I have a 4-hour appointment with, of course, we haven't been able to talk to her much because all this is going on this week, but Tony Henderson and I are going out to see her Saturday from 11 to 4 or 11 to 3, and then Sunday from 11 to 3. So we're going to spend, 8 hours with her this weekend? So we'll go over this as well as Mr. J. There will also now be tablet messaging between Brian Boone and Sarah Boone that will become relevant if we go this route, and jail calls between the two of them. I highlighted this because I made a copy and sent it to the state attorney's office, District 9, because we have the tablet messages. We've been going ham on those, but we don't have the jail calls. When I first asked for them, I was told by the public records person they don't have any. But then I copied and pasted this into it and said, hi, you sent me the tablet messages. Mr. William J. mentions there's jail calls. Can you just double check? So cross your fingers and send out good vibes in the universe that we can get these. Because we'll have a good kiki. Mr. Owens. All right. Well, I just want to know the specifics, what exactly you all are utilizing. But the court, I think that's an if, then what happens? I mean, it's all going to be predicated on what he may say from a prior consistent statement perspective or respective. Mr. J. And there's a 5th DCA case, I believe, called State versus Williams, that would suggest that we are not permitted by the court to be forced to tell people which particular pages we're going to introduce or which jail calls we're going to introduce, particularly when it's on rebuttal, because you could be using them to impeach people, right? So if you give them ahead of time, then they know not to step in that. And, we want Mr. Owens to step in it. This is all new to us, that he was going to open all these cans of worms. But we're just cautioning him that there is potential rebuttal evidence on jail phone calls, tablets, prior consistent statements, and the testimony that will come out that the reason he stopped paying child support and alimony was because of her incarceration, which continues. She been in jail over 4 years, dear jury. Mr. Owens, I think the state believes Brian Boone is a key witness. I think they anticipated calling him. We believe he's biased and has animus towards Sarah Boone. Well, they have to call him. He arrived at the crime scene. He was there. She called him before she called 911. That is key evidence. Like, girl, you didn't have no problem calling 911 any other time because of George. What happened this time? Brian was the one to call. Were you in the habit of calling Brian before for the abuse? Oh no, you called 911. So what happened this time? The court. Okay, Mr. Owens, sorry. The court. No, that's fine. You can go ahead. Just the wheels are spinning in my head. Mr. Owens, as it gets closer to his testimony, like I said, I think we should proffer whatever cross-examination. If I attempt to utilize anything from the domestic file, the family law file, that be proffered outside the presence of the jury so the court can make a ruling. The court. Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection at this time. It may go to bias. I understand the hearsay concept, but if there's specific statements that may have been made, I just don't know at this point in time. So I think there's enough potentially there for some level of impeachment, maybe, and that may be enough. So I'm going to overrule your objection for now. He's overruling Mr. J. But I'm going to ask that before we proceed with anything from the family law case on cross-examination regarding Mr. Boone, that, you ask to approach so that we can have that proffer and really dial it down at that point in time. Okay? Mr. Owens, yes, sir. The court. All right. Thank you. Back to open court. The court. All right. Thank you all, both, for your arguments and clarifications. Based on, the court is going to overrule the objection at this time for the reasons discussed at sidebar. Moving now to 23, the policies and procedures of the Orange County Sheriff's Office regarding Miranda. So we're going to skip through this. Moving to 32, I'm just going to read this for context so it's not choppy. iPhone photo. Said there was one more item that we needed to address. Mr. Owens, I'm going to withdraw. The court. Okay. All right. Can the parties approach for just a moment at the bench? The court. Mr. Owens, this is directed to you, sir. Have you had the opportunity to inquire of Ms. Boone regarding the potential impeachments of her former husband, Brian Boone, and what those answers may be? I don't want to have that all in open court if you've not had that conversation and asked that question, and the answer is no. I'd rather have you have that conversation now, and then we can engage in that dialogue if you have not yet done it. Mr. Owens, yeah. You remember we were talking at the bench in the other courtroom? I said that Tony Henderson and I are going out Saturday from 11 to 3 to see her, and Sunday from 11 to 3. I was going to speak to her about that. The court. Okay. All right. So then I will make a note to address that on Monday. We should still be either polishing up or in the state's case at that point in time. Mr. Cacciatore, we should, but in all candor, Brian Boone is being called as a witness tomorrow. Dun, dun, dun. The court. Then, Mr. Owens, they don't give me time. I don't know if they would allow me time to speak with her up here after court proceedings. So they being the sheriff's office. Mr. J, attorneys can go to the jail 24 hours a day. What you talking about, Owens? If they don't give you time here, you drive your little self right on over to the jail. Mr. Owens, will they let me see her in the belly of the beast? The court. So here's what we're going to do. Let's proceed with jury selection. Our jurors have been waiting since 10 a.m. and I don't want to delay more of their time. But if we can address that issue today, since Mr. Boone most likely will be called tomorrow by the state, I prefer to get that just taken care of. And it's on the record that we've had that conversation and she understands what the potential ramifications are if certain questions were asked. Okay? Mr. Owens, I'll talk to her after court. The court, yes. Mr. Beck? Mr. Beck, I wanted to let the court know on occasion you've asked for the presence of counsel. I've been talking to Mr. Cacciatore. I've been trying to coordinate with experts about their schedules, calendars, and so on. We've talked about possibly taking witnesses out of the order. That's what I'm generally doing. I didn't want to disrespect the court. The court. No, and I appreciate it. I just want to make sure, because it's a team of you all, and that, I don't want an issue where you're not here and then, you understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. The court. I appreciate you guys. Yes, sir, Mr. Henderson. In that situation, when Mr. Owens talks to her this time, he talks really slow. He can go over the fact. And she knows because he told her. There are going to be times I'm not going to be in here. There are going to be times when Mr. Beck or Mr. Owens won't be in here or just coordinating stuff. If we could just make a blanket inquiry that she understands that. So they're trying to make sure there's no appellate issues if she complains about it. The court. It's interesting because they're her attorneys. Why don't they explain that to her? The court. Is that acceptable to the state? Mr. J, sure. The court. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. In open court. The court. All right. Thank you, counsels. Defense counsel, if you could see to address those matters that we had discussed, I would appreciate it. Anything else we need to address before we bring in our panel? Mr. J. No, sir. The court. Defense? Mr. Henderson. No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. The court. Let's stand and bring in our panel. Thank you. Veneer panel 5. And then he asked if they recognize the panel. The court. Would the parties approach for one moment at the bench? The court. Mr. Owens, have you had the opportunity to converse with Ms. Boone about the potential impeachments of her former husband and what answers may be elicited? Mr. Owens, I have. My understanding is that potentially through my cross-examination of her ex-husband, Brian Boone, as it relates to their dissolution of marriage file, that it may come out that she has been in custody for 4.5 years, and it may open the door to that fact. I have talked to her about that. I was going to go talk to her downstairs and get confirmation, unless you want me to spend about 5 minutes with her. The court. I'd rather do it now because I don't know where Mr. Boone's going to be in the state's case tomorrow, and I'd rather go ahead and do it now. Mr. Owens, I will. The court. You all can head back to the table. Thank you. In open court. Mr. Owens, once you've had that conversation with her, just let me know. Pause. Mr. Owens, Judge, if I may. I've conferred with my client about the issue on cross-examination of her ex-husband, Brian Boone, about the family law case, the dissolution of marriage case, and through my cross, if I explore these issues, it may come out that she has been in jail pending her arrest. Is it pending her arrest or since her arrest? Back on February the 24th of 2020. She was actually arrested on the 25th. So 4.5 years. 23rd is when he died. 24th is when the police came out. They got her phone. 25th is when she went down to pick up her phone because pregnant Chelsea couldn't go out to meet her. She understands that I have to make a decision about whether to explore that area of cross-examination, but I believe she's going to say that she trusts my judgment. She is concerned about it coming out that she's had 8 prior attorneys. She does not want that coming out, but that's her biggest concern. The court. Oh, so she knows it's bad. The court. Okay, we'll address that in just a moment. Ma'am, I don't want to go into the specifics of any conversations you have had with any of your attorneys on that issue. I just need to know whether or not you've had those conversations, okay? Is what your lawyer just represented accurate as to the conversation that you had as to that issue regarding cross-examining your former husband, Brian Boone, the defendant?
Yes.
The court. Okay. Do you understand the risk that if he seeks to impeach or call into question the bias and credibility of your former husband, Mr. Boone, as to what has transpired in your dissolution of marriage case, it may open the door to the fact that you've been incarcerated since February of 2020? The defendant.
Yes.
The court. Are you in agreement with that strategy, understanding those risks?
I am.
The court. Okay. Now, with regard to your concern, ma'am, over having 8 prior attorneys, I don't intend on allowing it. I'm sure that's not part of the state's case in chief. Mr. J, no, Your Honor. I don't see how it would possibly become relevant, but if we somehow believed it did, we would certainly have a sidebar before anything about that. The court. If by some circumstance that somehow becomes relevant, I'm going to ask the state to approach before we even get near addressing that issue in front of our jury, okay? Ma'am, do you have any other questions for me at this time?
I do not.
The court. All right. State, anything further? Mr. J. No, sir. The court. Defense, anything further? Mr. Owens. No, sir. The court. All right, we will see you all at 9 a.m. The court will conduct its regular docket at 8:30. Thank you. We're off the record. Proceedings recess at 5:03. Following proceedings resumed October 18th at 9:28 a.m. With appearances as previously noted. Brianne Crisp was the stenographer. So that is what we have there. And then I just want to show you the modification for those of you guys who haven't been with us for a long time. Some of you have seen this multiple times here on my channel, but this is the supplemental petition for modification of final judgment. This was filed in 2022, where Owens was saying he wasn't sure if it was filed. Action for modification, jurisdiction and venue, substantial change in circumstances, which which is the exact wording that Judge Cranick used. Since the entry of the final judgment, there has been material and substantial changes in circumstances that require a modification to the parenting plan, marital settlement agreement, and final judgment. So, and it goes into she was arrested on the 25th. They have a minor child in common. He's voluntarily deposited money in her account. He wants to be awarded sole parental responsibility decision making, and 100% of the time she does not have the mental or physical ability to co-parent at this time, nor can she exercise any time sharing. Then he goes on to talk about the $1,000 per month for a period of 84 months, which would have ended in April of 2025. The original agreement went into effect, I want to say like May or June of 2018. The termination, okay, wait, so let's go. Also, due to the former wife's admitted egregious behavior of locking her live-in boyfriend in a suitcase, which ultimately led to his death, she is not entitled to alimony. The termination of the durational alimony should be retroactive to Feb 25th, the day of her arrest and incarceration. And then he says, in the alternative, so in case the judge doesn't agree that murder disqualifies from alimony, he's saying that it should be reduced or at least suspended while she's incarcerated. Of course, this is before she was convicted, right? She doesn't need $1,000 a month at all. So the former wife does not incur any expenses for the minor child. Former wife would not sign the joint stipulation. Again, won't sign, won't mediate. He wants the sole custody of the child and decision making. He wants to terminate her alimony, terminate his child support obligation, and order her to pay reasonable attorney's fees because she wouldn't mediate and she wouldn't sign anything, right? And then I want to tie this back to her commissary orders as we have them for 2024, because this is why she's harassing him, why Sarah is harassing Brian, why Sarah is having Christina Pena harass Brian, why Sarah is having Lana Albert harass Brian, why Sarah is now sicking Owens on Brian for this alimony in open court, mainly to embarrass him, but she's willing to steal money out of the household of her son, who is being raised by single parent Brian Boone, for these items in her commissary, which I just, as a mother, I think is deplorable. So we've gone over this before, but some of you guys are new. We went over this before I had 10,000 viewers, or subscribers, sorry. Big Texas cinnamon roll, 10 packs of sugar substitute, big Texas cinnamon roll. So we started January. And this, I want to say, I think it goes to November. I'm just going to scroll down. I did a pivot table, but I just want to show you guys so you have full context here. This goes through 11/28/2024. So I pivoted it to see exactly what she was buying. This is it. Apple cinnamon honey buns. She ordered 1. Big Texas cinnamon roll. She ordered 18 for those 11 months that we have, right? She spent $30 on that. Brown sugar cinnamon 2-pack Pop-Tart. She bought 38. So whatever 38 is times 2, that's how many Pop-Tarts she had for the year. The sugar substitute. She bought 43 10-packs. So 4,300 packets of sugar. Three Musketeers, she purchased 26 of them. Baby Ruth, she purchased 1. Butterfingers, she purchased 35. Lord, the manila envelope. Somebody should cut her off. 27 9x12 manila envelopes. We know what those went to the court, to harass people, to talk about her attorneys and just say nasty things. Health and Beauty, baby lotion, 4 ounces. She bought 5 of them. Body wash, it says she bought 3, but she must have returned them. Body wash, shampoo, fresh scent, because it's coming out to 0. It says $262. Let me just cross-reference that. It's hard because they don't do all the subtraction. Oh no, I'm thinking of the other document. This is just the gross sales. So she spent $262 for 11 months in the commissary. Less, some of these you can see she returned, so that would not be in our total where the negatives are. Apple cinnamon bun, she returned. That is what she is harassing Brian for money for. She spent less than $300 in 11 months. What in the hell does she need $1,000 a month for, right? Because she's owed it? What about her son? That's money that it could be spent on summer camp. It could be spent on some sort of sports. Like maybe he wants to play soccer. I know he was playing t-ball when he was younger. Maybe he wants to play baseball or softball or whatever it is. That money could go toward that. Maybe he wants to go to this cool like space camp or something. That money could go to him. But no, she wants it. She wants to take it from Brian and have it in her pocket. Just like we saw in her last angry, I'm getting annoyed. Let me just calm down. I don't mean to yell at you guys. It just, as a mom, it pisses me off. In the last emotion that where she was demanding all those things and Brian's lawyer eventually told her to pound sand, she feels entitled to his parents' money as well, right? She's basically like, his parents are rich. If he doesn't have a job, if he doesn't have money, they can give it to me. What kind of mother are you? And why? And then you've got Christina and Lana and now Owens involved in trying to get this $1,000. Just knowing everything I know, you guys know I don't know Brian, I don't know Sarah. I'm only reading the stuff like you are. If she, I think, would have said, like, give me $50 a month or $100 a month, they would have been able to agree to that, right? So either she could have stipulated to that and it would be binding. She could have gone to mediation, but no, she was going on about her cancer and she can't make an appointment. She could have gone to mediation and settled that. Instead, she's going to be stuck with attorney's fees. And how she pays them, I don't know how they work that out. Because she wants the $1,000 a month, when the $1,000 was to help her transition from the lifestyle to which she was accustomed to the lifestyle she was going to have post-marriage. She also was bought out by Brian, right? He gave her the money for the credit cards. He gave her her share of equity in the home. He gave her the title to the Kia Sorrento. So I don't get it. Like, does she see Brian as a cash cow? Is she so vengeful towards Brian that she just wants to hit him in the pockets where she thinks it will hurt him? Because anything she does to Brian, she's doing to her son. It impacts her son. There's no way it can't because he's a single parent. Yeah, so it makes me furious. And that James kind of got into it with her, that Lana got into it, that Christina got into it, like sending him messages. And I'm not able to verify that someone actually went to his home, but that's the rumor that's going on out there. Someone knocked on the door to tell him to pay. We know, we've seen it in the messages. Christina and Lana have confirmed reaching out to him. Now, to Lana's credit, she did say, you know, she was getting more flies with sugar than honey, so she was nice to him as a former salesperson, like buttering him up. But it was still none of her business. You know, it's still none of Christina's business. I think Sarah did it because she could dry beg and say, oh, POS former husband was supposed to give me money. Reach out to him, so that they would then say, oh, girl, I'll send you some money. I'll reach out to him so you get your money, but I'm going to give you some money in the meantime so you're not starving. She was also getting packages. Her brother was getting packages. I think I'll do a separate video because I want to talk about Peter giving her money, because I have their November deposits into her trust account. Because I think that's a question. Should she be getting Zuzus and Wham Whams from these producers money who are thinking about doing a documentary about her story, about Georgia's story? It's not her story exclusively, right? Because she's not supposed to profit about it. So that'll be another video. But you guys let me know what you think. Like, am I overreacting? Because you guys know, I'm like a mama bear. I just think what she's doing is wrong. And the fact that she's dragging it out, and not only in the family court, but then was trying to drag Brian in her criminal case. When you're on trial for murdering your boyfriend, how do you have a leg to stand on? Like, to be indignant that he's not sending you money, and you want that to be on TV, and you know he still has to go home and take care of your son, and that your son was previously bullied in the old town that he lived in, and now he's moved to a new town and potentially has a new start. But here he is, the dad, who I'm sure when he drops his son off at school, they're like, oh, that's you. For people who see true crime, I get everybody doesn't know who Sarah Boone is and know what is going on. But for the people who do, you're bringing, I don't want to say shame, because the son shouldn't be ashamed for his mom's deeds, but you're bringing on unwanted attention when he's just going into 8th grade and he should be carefree. He should be carefree. He should be worried about girls and pimple cream and whatever else, or boys, whatever his choice is. But do you know, like, he should be figuring out who he's going to be as an adult, maybe rebelling a little bit against his dad, trying to find his independence. And he needs to be able to do that in a safe way. And she's just prohibiting him from doing that. I don't get it. I don't get it how she was like, I just keep hearing her say in that interrogation, I'm an outstanding mother to my son. On what planet? Okay, I could go on forever. Let me let y'all go. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because this woman, I say it all the time, balls of a burglar. Balls of a burglar. All right, toodles. Talk to you in the comments.